4:30 right there. Okay, let's go and get going.
Go get it.
I'd like to call the October 18, 2011 meeting of the Buncombe County Board of Commissioners to order, and we will start with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Tonight, Commissioner Jones will do our invocation.
If you would bow with me. Lord of all, we come to you today grateful for the incredible abundance of gifts you give us daily: family, health, home, friends. Filled with gratitude, we also know that for many reasons, many of your precious children are in pain and suffering because of circumstances or events that have placed them in hard and sometimes hopeless places. Tonight we come before you and ask for you to help us, your servants, find ways to be just and seek out opportunities for our citizens. Help us to be vehicles of dignity and compassion, both tonight and going forward. We also ask to continue to protect those brave women and men who provide security for our lives: EMS, firefighters, sheriff's employees, police employees, the dispatchers, and your men and women in the armed services. Keep them out of harm's way. Be with this group of commissioners as we hear your people and make decisions about our community. In the name of all things holy, amen.
Thank you. Mr. Frew, let me go into the ethics, and we'll recognize Mr. Frew for a minute. In accordance with our board's code of ethics, it's the duty of every board member to avoid both actual and apparent conflicts of interest and appearances of conflict. Does any board member know of any known conflict of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matter coming before the board?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, then we'll proceed. Mr. Frew, is there a legal matter that might affect some of our proceedings? I think there's going to be a motion to exclude the CTS condemnation because of a delay. Would you tell us about that for the record?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. We know now that the Mills Gap Road Associates did appeal the decision of our Permit Inspections Department to either repair or demolish the old CTS building on Mills Gap Road. Mills Gap Road, as the owners of that, did timely appeal, and it was early last week when we made an effort to put it on the earliest possible calendar before this board. The hearing before this board has been continued at the request of Mills Gap Road Associates because I think everyone's aware that recently, I believe in September, EPA did make demand to CTS and Mills Gap Road Associates for $6.5 million. I don't know the other details or what other details might be of that letter, and it's my understanding from hearsay that that's really for expenses advanced to date and not as a means of saying you pay this and you're off the hook. That's not at all what I understand. I understand this is for EPA expenses to date. As you expect, that letter did get the attention of those parties. They did have a meeting Friday in Atlanta between EPA, invited these groups down to their regional office, and CTS and Mills Gap Road Associates attorneys were there and present. I got a call from the attorneys, and they requested that we continue the hearing before this board of that appeal for a couple weeks until November 1st because they anticipate further negotiations and discussions between now and then. I'm not privy to those discussions, but I'm hopeful that something positive will transpire that might help us all. And now, the thing that this board and the public needs to remember and understand, an appeal to this board of a decision of the Permits Inspections Department is a quasi-judicial hearing. And as such, this board acts impartially as judge and jury. So in that respect, when some concerned citizens have given me a call to ask me what that means, what's the process going to be, it means this. It means that this board can't talk about it or communicate with citizens about the matter, and it would be inappropriate for these concerned citizens to impress their opinion to this board prior to that decision-making process. Now, we all know that there's been a number of concerned citizens over the years, last several years especially, and they have great passion for it, and we're aware of that opinion. But at this point, with the quasi-judicial process, it's best just to avoid any appearance of any pre-made decision. So on November 1st, we'll have that quasi-judicial hearing. At that hearing, there'll be no public comment pertaining to the direct decision-making process. Any comment could be made at the close of session as a normal public comment period, but not prior to this decision. It'd be just the evidence would be from our permits department, anyone else he feels necessary to call, that is Matt Stone, and then the Mills Gap attorney would be able to present or afford any evidence they feel pertinent in an opportunity to cross-examine Mr. Stone. Also on that note regarding public comment, I did address the board and the chairman in particular that in order to avoid that potential conflict, I think it would be best to invoke the rule that we have on the books and deny public addresses today pertaining to that CTS Mills Gap Road Associates matter as matters previously presented to the board.
Okay, and plus, it might be grounds to challenge the judicial hearing that will be next meeting, I guess.
It might. It's just the appearance. I don't know that it would be grounds, but we would like to keep it as clean as possible.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda with the exclusion of the CTS condemnation?
So moved. Second.
There's a motion by Vice Chair Stanley, a second by Commissioner Peterson. Is there any discussion? If not, we'll vote on whether to follow the agenda as published. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion, other than the with the amended CTS continuance to November 1, we will follow the motion passes 5-0, and we will follow the agenda as published. Next up, we have good news. Commissioner Peterson will introduce Mr. Ward with the Western NC Regional Livestock Center.
And it is my pleasure. LT, if you would come to the podium, that'd be great. We appreciate it. This truly is good news, and I am certainly privileged to have to be able to introduce Mr. Ward, and I really appreciate that. LT Ward is a product of the mountains, and we're pleased with that. His career was spent in manufacturing, and his community involvement includes United Way, Chamber of Commerce, Hospital Board, advisory committees for North Carolina State in their engineering program, locally Valley Springs School, SD School, and T.C. Robertson, a building project at T.C. Robertson High School. He's also been involved in youth activities, athletics, and he's a lay leader at his church. LT is the kind of person, if there's a problem, he's the man you go to. Now, I know that from experience because not only do I know about this situation he was involved in, he, quite frankly, was a dear friend of my father's, and I know from years and years' experience that if you had a problem, one of the first people you called was L.T. Ward. He's a problem solver. He's retired, but his wife will say he ain't never at home. He's always out doing something, and maybe she's part of why he wants to get out and about. Several years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago, there was a problem here in Buncombe County that our Ag Extension people saw. And the Ag Advisory Board, which you will remember that Ken Reeves retired as our Ag Extension person, and now we have Steve Duckett, and both these gentlemen are just the top of the line. But at the point in time when Ken Reeves was in charge of our agriculture programs here in Buncombe County, he talked to his Ag Advisory Board met monthly, and one of the problems that came to the forefront was the fact that once, and I'm not taking anything away, LT, and anything I say, you just... one of the things that came to the forefront with them was the fact that the livestock market down on River Road was no longer in existence, and where were the farmers here in Buncombe County going to go? That's all as far as I'm going there, LT.
Okay, that's okay.
Because this is your show.
Doing great.
But this Ag Advisory Board, which include Ken Reeves and Jerry Roberts and Bruce Peterson, all of us who raise a few beef cattle around got together, and they said, well, maybe we need to do something about this. So they went to the folks in the district, and they had a meeting at Western North Carolina Farmers Market, and all the people from across the district who had anything to do with livestock were there. Now, this is where I'm stopping, LT, because this is where these folks saw there was a problem. Now, what's going to happen? We're going to go to an established place here in Buncombe County that's problem-solving, that's done things like the Ag Center and the Farmers Market, and this livestock thing kind of falls into this, and I've taken most of his glory, but let me tell you right now, this is the man who's made this happen. He will not say this during his speech, but this is the man that's made what we're going to hear about happen. And I'm going to tell you right now, he made it happen, and they actually named the arena the LT.
You went too far now.
Now, I know. Okay, I'm through because he's the man who's got all the information. But this is the man, if you got a problem, you go to, and now we're going to hear how he solved it.
Well, thank you very much,
Yes,
Commissioner
sir.
Peterson.
We can
Mr.
take
Chairman,
this show on the road if you want to.
We'll start right now.
Okay.
But, Mr. Chairman and board members, it is indeed a pleasure for me to give you this report. I hope that I'll be able to give it with the same level of excitement that livestock producers and family farmers are feeling the result of this opportunity that you and others have made possible. And I think there we are. I have a bit of a PowerPoint presentation, and I will hit some of these rather quickly, but it was my feeling that if I can give you a little bit of picture behind the words, that it will all come together very well. WNC Communities is a organization 62 years old, and it is a result of a merger with Western North Carolina Associated Communities. Now, Mr. Commissioner, Mr. Chairman, your Board of Commissions were present at the very first year, 62 years ago. I don't think any of Bill, you might.
Not quite.
Sorry about that.
Not quite. A little bit before my time.
No, but 62 years ago, when Mac Magoo and George Cecil and a number of other movers and the shakers in the area started this organization, Buncombe County Commissioners were there and have been there 62 years in a row, supporting the financial program as this work has gone on. The Livestock Center, local families spoke loudly, and we listened. And as Commissioner Peterson said, after the feasibility study was done, after the committee had done its work, they came to our organization and actually charged us with the responsibility, WNC Communities, with the responsibility of putting together a viable long-term livestock market for Western North Carolina. The objective was to increase the revenue for family farmers and producers and to boost the economy and create jobs. Why did WNC Communities become involved in this? We have a rich history, which you have been a part of, and has already been mentioned. The Farmers Market had its birth in our organization, the Agriculture Center, Mountain State Fair, North Carolina Arboretum, and as many of you will recall, Mac Magoo and Lou Bissett led the charge for Interstate 26 from Madison County into Tennessee. We had a strong relationship with the cooperative program, extension folks, a strong network of leaders and facilitators with skills, and we had a willingness to put the structure together as the legal folks would recognize. Our parent organization, WNC Communities, 501c3 structure, created an LLC, WNC Regional Livestock Center, LLC, to actually handle the project. We had a large number of stakeholders. Some of I have recognized here, and one of the requirements for the stakeholders as we were trying to raise the funds, some $3 million, was to have skin money. Buncombe County Commissioners came to the party with skin money. Thank you very kindly, and that primed the pump as we were able to go out and get additional funds. Those funds came primarily from this group of major contributors: North Carolina Tobacco Trust Fund, the Golden Leaf, North Carolina Rural Center, Appalachian Regional Commission, Farmland Preservation, Commissioner Troxler, and International Paper. Collectively, that group came up with about 2.8 of the 3 million, and we had local funds of another 200,000 to make that 3 million. That's in the center is the head of Appalachian Regional Commission, and you can see Commissioner Bailey working him in that ear, and they came through with $350,000 to support the program. It is located in Haywood County. It didn't have to be. It could have been Buncombe County. The committee that looked at the site locations had a short list of 3 after 6 or 7. Those 3 included the Woodfin landfill as a possibility, and of course the location that was selected, which is the landfill in Haywood County, and the other one was the WNC Ag Center at the airport. It was too close to the river. Runoff might be a problem, so that got denied. The Woodfin became a little bit of a challenge because of the roadway that hasn't yet been built in that area, and the location where we are at exit 33 on Interstate 40, Newfound Gap. It's really close to the Buncombe-Haywood County line, which is ideal because 50% of the livestock produced in our 20-county area is produced in Buncombe and Haywood County. So great location for it. International Paper made the site available to us. It is a closed landfill. It has fly ash stored in a cellular landfill and capped. It was capped some 12 or 15 years ago. It's 120 acres. Canton has 60 of it for an athletic complex, and we have 60 for our livestock center. Long-term lease, 99 years, low cost. We we produced the facility and leased it to a for-profit operator who has to share the profits with our livestock producers. That's a picture of an aerial view of the landfill, and you can see the kidney shape there. That is the cap, and we're just to your right of that in that little brown area. That's what it looks like now. It was a ravine and a mountain. And after moving about 175,000 cubic yards of dirt and a whole bunch more rock than we had planned to, we came up with that site. The building is about 46,500 square feet. That's like an acre under roof. It has 8,000 of square feet of office and arena space with an education facility. The rest of it is the barn or the operating area. This is a picture of the arena, the center of the project, and that in the very center is the scale. That is when the livestock step on that, a monitor shows the weight of the animal. Those seats are recycled from Camden Stadium, Orioles, and we were able to find those at a nice price.
Nice.
The facility has a modern facility with an education room. You might recognize the guy in the center there, Jeff Bradley. He was Buncombe County's livestock extension agent and very active among those that you had already mentioned. And that is, they're located in the education room. It'll seat 100. We have a education program with producers. We hope to educate the producers so that they can have added value to their livestock and therefore increase the value of their products sold by 10 to 15% by doing a few things like dehorning, castration, and inoculation. That alone would get them probably 10 to 15% more at the time of the sale. The design was influenced by Temple Grandin's idea for humane treatment of cattle. Temple Grandin, you may know, is a professor, Colorado State University, 30 years of work with livestock. She was autistic, and she learned that there's a correlation between autism and the fear of livestock, and she was able to include that in a body of work. that produced a lot of features that are built into livestock treatment. These are some that you can see the flooring that is grooved. That's for security of the livestock. The squeeze chute is to quieten and the cattle when they are worked on by the vet. And the raceway going in has binders on it so that they will not be distracted by things at the side. The facility has a catwalk, and this allows the buyers to view the cattle before the sale. It rises up above, and they can walk the entire distance of almost an acre. We also handle small animals, goats and sheep. And notice the large bull in the lower left-hand corner there, the longhorn, measures 8.3 inches. And to get in that arena, had to twist the head, and he did it so gracefully. He was sold, too. We had opening day. Opening day, they came in droves. We expected to sell about 500 head of cattle that first day. We had almost 1,000. The auctioneer started at 12 o'clock, and he was still there at 10:30 that night, still running his mouth. Bruce Peterson, who is chair of WNC Communities and also was heading up this livestock program for us, you can see the smile on his face, how delighted he was on that day to see so many people there. The arena was packed. In fact, outside the arena was more people. We had them parking as far as a mile away and walking. The basic objective was put more money in the pockets of family farmers, and we've been able to do that by shortening the distance of the drive. Prior to this, after the close of the market in Asheville, livestock producers had to drive 70 to 100 miles away. The production at that time in the area for the 20 counties was about 100,000. It immediately dropped to 80,000. There are 3,000 producers in western North Carolina in the 20 counties producing 80,000 head of livestock. 40,000 of those were being sold outside North Carolina, outside western North Carolina, and had the added cost to the farmer. There's a component of weight shrinkage when you're traveling with cattle. Lose 2% an hour for the first 3 hours. Lower facility fees. I mentioned that the livestock the operator. Thank you. The operator has to share the profits, and he does that by a lower discount on the fees. And we have more buyers. We have a larger price with those things that I mentioned for beef quality assurance, and that's a tune of about $650,000 more money in the pockets of the producers. From an economic standpoint, to date, we've sold about 8,000 head of cattle for right at $6 million. If you use a multiplier of 1.5, that gives us about $9 million of economic impact. ARC folks told me I could use 2. That's a better, but we wanted to be conservative, and it is about $9 million. 15 full-time people work at the operation, 125 FTEs, that's full-time equivalents. That's about 500 folks on the farm that work part-time. More than the $650,000, and we do have already 50 certified BQA producers, which means they have a farm that has gone through the testing process to say that they will produce high-quality production. From an environmental standpoint, this was a brownfield. It is now a productive operation. I mentioned we made a big cut in the mountain, which I didn't like, but we quickly came back to restore vegetation, and now it looks like this. We received a national award, National Association of Development Organizations. That award was presented through Land of the Sky Regional Council and Southwestern Commission, Joe McKinney and Bill Gibson. Whoops. How'd I get there? So that award, back up there just a second. Okay, that award was recognized for innovation. And those things that I have mentioned were a part of the components that we were judged on. And there were 50 awards given throughout the United States. I believe this is the first agriculture one that was ever on their list. So we were quite proud of that. Joe McKinney and I were in Miami last week at their NATO's convention and received the award.
Nice.
So with that, I will conclude my comments, but will ask you to come visit sometime at the market. The sales are on Monday. The auctioneer starts at 12 o'clock, and I wanted to give you just a flavor of what you'll see when you're there. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Thank you, Peterson family. Wonderful project. Any questions or comments? Next, we have a public hearing on an amendment to Chapter 78 of the County Code of Zoning, and we have Debbie Trumpy here to tell us about the proposed amendments.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I do have just a few proposed changes to the zoning ordinance. These are administrative changes, mainly for clarification and to add a requirement for within applications for conditional use permits. We have changes proposed in the definition section of the ordinance. We would add a definition for retaining walls. That is the same definition as in the retaining wall ordinance, and it refers to the retaining wall ordinance for further regulations. We would amend the definition of structures to provide exemptions for certain structures from the setback requirements of the ordinance. The first would be detached structures less than 12 feet tall and 12 feet long and less than 10 feet tall that are clearly incidental to residential uses, and that would be small sheds, play sets, that kind of thing, would be exempt from setbacks. Also exempt would be utility poles, fences 10 feet high or less, and on-site, on-premise signage. We also would add a definition for utility pole. We just don't have one in the ordinance, and as it's used within that document, we would want to define it. Also, we would amend the dimensional requirements section 78-642 just to substitute the word structure for building. That's where the maximum height and setbacks are defined, and as not all structures are buildings, it would be more appropriate and more clear to substitute that word. We also have proposed to include requirements and applications for conditional use permits that retaining walls be shown on the site plans. They would have to show us the location and the maximum height of that retaining wall. Now, generally, retaining wall will just be shown with a dark line, and if you're not really looking for them, it's hard to miss altogether, and it's not required to show the height. Also, on the conditional use permit applications, we would require a provision for elevation renderings. People generally are not used to looking at plans from a bird's eye view, so this would just provide a better opportunity for the Board of Adjustment and interested citizens to see really what the project would look like and evaluate those impacts. That requirement could be waived by the zoning administrator if it was deemed to be unnecessary, like a real small development. And now there are larger projects often do provide those renderings, but we would just want to have that requirement for all of them. The Planning Board held a public hearing on these proposed amendments October the 3rd. There was no public comment made, and the Planning Board found that the proposed changes were consistent with the land use plan, reasonable, and in the public interest. And they unanimously recommend that the amendments be approved. Do you have any questions now?
Any questions from the board or comments before we have our public hearing?
No, sir.
I would just say I'm really glad that you're getting more visual because, you know, the more average people can understand retaining walls and how they're going to look and fit in with the surrounding, I think the less likely we are to make maybe errors or mistakes that we look back and say are mistakes by approving things because now we can see them. So I'm a visual guy, and I think any visual is good. So I salute you for that. Any other comments or questions?
And I'll just add, I think I know the answer to this question, but just, so we're thinking that these seem like really smart, helpful improvements to our ordinance. And do we think that if this were in place a while back from the famous retaining wall that gives us all heartburn, that predicament might not be what it is today?
Looking back on those plans, it did show retaining walls, but they did not show heights, so I think that could have been a different outcome.
Would the setback stuff change anything at all, or?
Not in that situation.
But more the elevation part.
The Board of Adjustment would have had a much better idea of what the site would look like.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, if there are not any other questions or comments, we'll start our public hearing at 4:57. We'll go 3 minutes, and we're just here to talk about the proposed changes to the county zoning on these issues. Any public comment tonight? Mr. Yelton?
Since this is a public hearing, this has to do with this change in the ordinance and any others that the county commissioners might consider. I would like to know, when these things are brought up before the commission, how many projects would this have affected, say, in the past 2 years? I think it's necessary to know that because visual interpretation is a matter of personal preference. So we need to know the financial impact and the projects that this would impact it on. Now, do I expect this board to do that? I don't, but I think it would be an excellent idea because it would help you to eliminate mistakes that have been made in the past and let you see why you're doing it. Because I don't think anybody likes going up that hill into Fairview and seeing that big crack in that retaining wall there, even the guys that built it.
Thank you, Mr. Yelton. Any other public comment on our proposed zoning changes? Mr. Rice?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. The Wall of China is a very famous picture out there on. I'm glad you all commissioners live out that way because you get to look at it every time you go by. The Wall of China isn't the only thing we have in Buncombe County that's an eyesore. I would like to bring your attention to one. It's called the AB Tech parking. And I'd like for you to take a visual yourself this fall when the leaves goes off the tree. Go down to the roundhouse at the park down there and look back up toward AB Tech. That is a wall that looks just as monstrosity as the Wall of China. You might not have paid any attention to it. I'd like to ask how that thing was structured. You don't see any blocks or any, manual structure. It just looks like dirt. But it's got the longest slope. It looks like it's probably 400 or 500 feet, 1,500 feet from the top all the way down. And I'd like for you to look at that and see if that is within the bounds of your jurisdiction of what's happened. I don't know. It's a pretty massive operation there. So I'm glad you're doing something on this, because I don't think that structure out there should have been built anyway. And I think people on the planning board, I can't believe that a planner wouldn't have saw that. They're trained for the trained eye, and engineers, it looked like they would have spotted that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment tonight on the proposed changes to our zoning law? If not, I'll call the public hearing closed at 5:02. Is there any discussion or comments among our board? No. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Peterson, a second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor of the proposed amendments say aye. All opposed, no. Motion carries 4-0. Commissioner Bailey is not in town today. Next up, we're going to have new business, Asheville Buncombe Youth Soccer Association lease. We have Fran and Mike here to talk about that, and if you'll tell us what the proposed lease is and how the county fits into that, Ms. Thigpen.
Mr. Chairman, Board of Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity today to talk to you a little bit about a project we've been working on to look at how we might work with ABYSA in closer partnership about fields 1 through 7, the grass fields at the sports park. But I thought, since it's been such a long time, maybe since you've had an update on ABYSA, that if you wouldn't mind, we'd take a few minutes and I'd ask the Executive Director of ABYSA to kind of share an update and a history of ABYSA just for an update for your purposes.
Very good. Mike, come on up. Tell us about it.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to give you an update on ABYSA and our partnership with the county as you consider the proposed lease agreement. We're celebrating this year our 30th anniversary, and in the article mentioned on that slide, it specifically mentions that Buncombe County and the Buncombe County Recreation Services was partnering with a group of dedicated parents to form a county-wide soccer league. That was on January 25th, 1981. So Buncombe County was our first partner, and we've grown successful together. Over the next 15 years, youth soccer in Buncombe County, like in the rest of the country, prospered and achieved steady growth. We started having competitive youth soccer here in Western North Carolina as successful players began to look for more opportunities. We began traveling around North Carolina and hosting games in Buncombe County. Our facilities at that time were not to be envied, and our families learned about how much or how our facilities compared to those in other communities. All that changed in 1999 when Buncombe County built and opened the Buncombe County Sports Park and the 7 Bermuda grass competition soccer fields there. Just want to give you a snapshot of ABYSA in 2011. It reflects the popularity of our programs and the broad community support that we enjoy today. We're serving over 5,000 youth players between the ages of 4 and 18. Over 1,000 adult soccer players are served every year. From a human resources standpoint, we have 11 full-time staff, 41 part-time paid coaches, and many, many volunteer coaches. And we conservatively estimate that we benefit from over 44,000 volunteer hours in our programs every year. ABYSA and our board of directors are also deeply committed to making our programs accessible throughout the community. Here are some examples of how we address the 2 biggest barriers to participation: cost and transportation. Last fiscal year, we provided over $73,000 in financial assistance for program registrants. Recreation soccer is free for children who receive Medicaid or a free lunch at school, and there's also a sliding scale based on the level of assistance that family receives. We served over 800 kids in an outreach program in partnership with Children First, the YWCA, the Asheville City Schools Foundation, and the Summer Playground Program with Asheville Parks and Rec. That particular program specifically addresses the transportation barrier, so we're taking programming to folks who are already reaching the underserved population that we want to be playing soccer. Another example of how we reach out to serve as many children as possible is our Soccer in the Schools program. Last year we visited 42 schools, provided over 1,300 hours of instruction, and reached over 21,000 students. Buncombe County Sports Park is not only an important asset to the soccer community, but it's also an important financial asset. In the year 2000, right after Buncombe County Sports Park opened, ABYSA hosted its first State Cup soccer tournament. We were able to show off our great new facility to soccer families from throughout North Carolina, and people had a reason to become excited about playing soccer in Asheville. This past year, we hosted 7 weekend tournament events, filling over 4,700 hotel rooms. The economic impact of those events is over $2 million as calculated by the Asheville Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. ABYSA has been successful. We greatly value our partnership with the county. The lease agreement that you're considering tonight reflects our ability to step up and do more and accept more financial responsibility for the great facility we have in Buncombe County Sports Park. We look forward to many years of successful partnership with the county moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Good job.
Buncombe County Parks, Greenways, and Recreation Department is a small but enthusiastic department. We exist because of partnerships, and that's part of what I'm bringing to you tonight, the opportunity for another partnership or an increased partnership. I wanted to tell you just a little bit, though, about the sports park and then talk about the proposed lease. Last year we had 350,000 visitors to the sports park. Some of them were soccer players and spectators, but there were also walkers and runners and people with dogs and volleyball players and picnickers and children using the playground with adult supervision, people attending special events and activities, and many, many others. So we have other things going on at the sports park in addition to soccer. Our focus today, though, before we talk about the Bermuda grass competitive fields, I wanted to mention that there is another field that's at the soccer park. It is a big practice field. So in addition to volleyball and bocce and a kickball and disc golf and walking track, there is another rather large practice field at the soccer park. That field is not one of the ones we're talking about tonight when we talk about the Bermuda grass fields. It is a practice field that is used often by everybody in the community for all sorts of activities. Currently there are soccer goals up there. That field is available the 12 to 13 hours a day that the park is open, 362 days a year. There are people up using that natural grass practice field. We continue to use it also for ABYSA practice so that the fields that, the competitive fields truly are game fields and not practice fields. We will be looking, I will be evaluating over the next couple of months, next 2 months, how we might even improve the characteristics of Field 8 to allow more play and extend play for more folks in the community besides what we have right now. But I wanted to talk, if I could, about the proposed lease and then ask for your questions that you might have about that. The sports park, when it opened almost 10 years ago, it has been, its primary focus has been to fill the need for competitive soccer fields. Since the park opened, Buncombe County has maintained those fields to a very high standard of play for games and tournament competition. Maintaining the fields to this high standard requires an investment in labor, equipment, materials, and supplies. That work has been done through the years through the Parks Maintenance Department and currently through the General Services Department. The proposal for the lease that comes to you today has been a proposal that we've been talking about, Mike as Executive Director of ABYSA, and I've been talking about for a number of months. As this year, we've seen increasing use of our parks, we've seen increasing costs of maintaining the parks, and we've seen another year of tightening departmental budgets. The main point when I look at the proposal before you tonight is that ABYSA maintain the 7 competitive soccer fields to their standards for games and tournaments. That they purchase the supplies and materials to maintain those fields and to prepare them for play. We also ask that ABYSA assume the responsibility for hiring and scheduling the staff that they need to prepare those fields in order to meet their timelines for games. Also the lease allows Asheville Buncombe Youth Soccer Association to use their fundraising experience, their community contacts, their volunteer board to help support, financially support, and continue outreach for soccer programming for youth and adults in Buncombe County. Also will allow them to continue to do the good work that they've done reaching low-income and at-risk youth through their outreach program. From a county perspective, that's Asheville Buncombe Youth Soccer Association perspective. From a county's perspective, this lease will bring in line more closely the use agreements that we have with the 3 baseball youth leagues that have been operating at North Buncombe, Hominy Valley, and Owen Park for a number of years. Those youth leagues that operate in those areas have been responsible for the maintenance and care of the baseball fields in those parks. In exchange, the county has not charged them for field use, and the youth league schedules those fields. So it is an opportunity to bring our relationship, our contract, our agreement with ABYSA in closer align with what we do with the other 3 youth leagues that provide baseball. The lease promotes, as I've said, Parks, Greenways, and Recreation's objective to look at new and more creative partnerships as we move forward. The lease reduces also the county's expenditures, the county cost of approximately $130,000 annually to provide the labor, equipment, materials, and supplies for those for upkeep, maintenance of those fields. And the lease allows the county to share the cost of maintaining the sports park with a nonprofit whose core service is to provide and promote positive soccer experiences, and that's what ABYSA's mission is. Judy, if you'll pull up there's a synopsis for you. This is in the county's lease. We're asking, or in the lease that I'm bringing to you, looking at a 5-year lease that the county will provide funding for the first 1 to 3 years of about $18,000 a year to offset the cost of water for irrigation of those fields. That will allow ABYSA to assume field maintenance and use the equipment that is needed to do that maintenance. And there is some specialized equipment that is involved. And it will allow them to maintain and schedule, allow us, the county Parks, Greenways, and Recreation Department, to maintain and schedule all the other areas of the park outside of field 1 through 7. Judy, next slide, please. ABYSA, by assuming or by your approval of this lease, would provide the staff, supplies, and materials to maintain those tournament quality soccer fields. They would schedule the fields for youth and adult soccer games and will allow public recreation and group field reservations as much as possible while maintaining the quality of those grass fields. Mr. Chairman, Board of Commissioners, I would welcome your questions.
Thank you, Ms. Thigpen. All right. Does the board have any questions or comments about this lease?
Yeah, I have a few. And we've been talking a lot over the last little bit, and I think it's a great win-win for the county and for ABSYA. I wish there was some shorter way to say it, but anyway. And what I want to make sure is that it's a win-win-win, and also that the citizens of Buncombe are also kind of looked after in all this too. Not that they're not involved in the soccer league, because I know that they are. Many thousands, 6,000 people are. So, so what I heard was that in terms of the public's use of the fields, that Field 8 will be readily accessible to Buncombe County citizens for play. And we are going to be doing some due diligence around potentially upgrading that field so it's not kind of the stepchild of all the other fields, and because that's also a concern of mine too. Like, and I've got some more things, but is that kind of where we're going with some of that?
That's what the proposal would bring to you, and my plan to evaluate that field over the next 60 days, the next 2 months, and to bring back to county management suggestions for how we can continue to improve public access of Field 8 at the sports park.
Because I think that not only is it
Honey,
just...
can I interrupt just a minute?
Sure.
Is Field 8 the one, if you go down the 2 playing fields there to the right, those are the, like 1 and 2, and then there's some down there, and is Field 8 the one, the last one that you get to if you go way down in the park? It's the one sort of in front of the maintenance. Okay, where's
It's the
Field
one
8?
as you go up the hill past the ones past the maintenance facility on your
Okay,
left.
got it.
And back up on the top of the hill. Rather
Thank you.
large, open
It
space,
is, it
natural
is.
grass area.
Right, okay, thank you, appreciate it.
In addition to wanting to make sure that our citizens have access, I think in terms of if we're really going to get serious as a community about addressing childhood obesity, we need to understand that in addition to the very good things that happen in competitive sports, there is a whole world of research around free play and spontaneous play and what that's about. That it's great to have things scheduled and whatnot, but it's also fantastic to have, you can see I'm waving my arms because it's so fantastic, but ability for children and families to kind of gather a little bit in a more unstructured way. So I think that kind of is important as our community is really looking at our childhood obesity issue. So, and now I also saw in the contract that has to do with fields 1 through 7 some potential abilities for ABSYA to open some of this use when it's not in under contract or whatever for the public. Could you say a little bit more about, I mean, I know some of the details are going to be worked out, but how the public would access that and how the communications would go and what the determinations would be and how that's going to be a nice partnership?
We've been talking back and forth, Mike at ABYSA and I've been talking about just exactly that. How do we make sure that we look towards providing access, and how does do different groups and individuals get access to these fields? We are working a little bit more on how we do that, but I think that if, with your permission, ask Mike if he could answer that question also.
And could I ask, as he's coming up, what is the field used for now? How much of the public uses 1 through 7 now?
They use it probably, I would say, since it's they're open fields except during the time. In other words, there's not a staff down there and there's not a big fence around to keep people out. The goals are locked up until game time, but the fields are often used by people who are walking through or going by or out running around for some informal or what I would call unscheduled recreational purposes. So it's going on now. It's not a facility that is gated.
I think as Mike's coming forward, somebody has finally got to pronounce his last name, and I personally think he's the one to do it. You notice everybody keeps saying Mike's going to do this and Mike's going to do that. This is Mike's last name, and he's going to pronounce it.
Ratchakab.
I knew somebody could do it.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's going to be a work in progress. And the most important thing to us with taking on the big expense of maintaining the fields to the standard that they've always been maintained to, and that's very important to us, is going to be, so it's always going to be a work in progress. But a couple things that are important to consider in daily weather conditions. The fields up there don't drain particularly well. They can still be too wet to play on Saturday when it's rained on Tuesday or Wednesday if it's been a heavy rain. And so it's going to take some effort and some work on our part, and some of those decisions might be made on a daily basis as we're staffing the park. And then there's times of year when the Bermuda grass, because it's dormant, is very brittle. During the coldest winter months when the turf is frozen, you need to stay off the Bermuda grass fields because you'll do damage to the root system, and which is why we don't start any league games, even though we begin playing in January with some of our programs. We don't begin using Buncombe County Sports Park until March. So there's going to be some calendar issues, and then there's going to be some day-to-day issues. We're not interested in telling a family that they can't play around on the fields. One of the things we're really concerned about, because of how big the soccer community has grown, is to have every night on those fields to have a 30 versus 30 game of 60 people playing a pickup game. While we like that and we support it, it's not appropriate for match competition level fields. So we'll be working with Fran to really hammer that out. I think that we'll need to, as the demand and people are wanting to use it, we're going to need to just figure it out on a season by season and sometimes day by day basis. Can we open the fields up, or do we need to put the sign in the sign that you would see today if you went up there that says the fields are closed, here's how you reserve use of the fields, but you can play today on field 8, and that's what those signs say. So we want to increase accessibility beyond what it has been for the last several years, but we also know that it's very important to protect the investment that the county's made and that ABYSA is going to make going forward. Does that answer your question? Okay.
More or less, yes. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I want to correct just a quick thing I said. I said the park is gated and locked at night and until the morning. The soccer fields are not fenced off and locked. I did want to correct that. And also to say we are continuing to look at in the lease some of the language about usage agreements and fees and when the fields can be used and when they're available, and that's one of the things that we're continuing to look at with ABYSA.
So if I understood correctly, talking to Ms. Stone earlier, that some of that detail around subletting, where we would maybe agree to in concept tonight, but know that the mechanics of it are going to get hammered out going forward a little bit more. So is that your advice, Mr. Frew?
Yes, I mean, I was talking to Mandy earlier as well. I haven't had a chance to get too much detail from Fran, but we'll try to work out those details and get that cleared up.
Because as that does go forward, I mean, I think y'all will do a great job figuring out, because clearly everybody's in this for the right reasons, and that we make those types of fees, accessible and fair, and the process accessible and fair. And I know we're going to work together on signage and communications, and it will be a working process. And as communications are changing every day in our technology world, I'm sure there's things that will unfold. So if we can have that flexibility within it as an understanding going forward, I'm fine with that. I mean, I do know this is a 5-year lease, and that makes me a little bit nervous, but I'm going in good faith that we're all going to the same place, and y'all are going to work hard on trying to kind of meet many of these goals that we were talking about today.
Thank you. And we would ask if you could approve the lease in concept tonight for us to move forward to work with county legal to put some wording around and smooth out some of those areas around subleasing, and a county ABYSA meeting yearly to set and to agree for a fee schedule for rentals and some things like that.
That'd be great. And one last question, then I'll let someone else ask questions. So in terms of the cost savings, because I love me some saving money, but Are those going to be dollars that are currently budgeted that we're having to utilize now for this maintenance in our budget?
We had hoped to move ahead towards the beginning of this fiscal year and just are a little bit further behind, but the hope was to save dollars within this fiscal year by not spending as much money on the equipment and the labor. So it will be a prorated share of this year,
Okay.
but and it won't be the total $130,000 that we hope to save in years to come.
Because I would suggest, I hear you're going to do some due diligence about cost and, to invest in our soccer fields going forward, but I would suggest that the projected ongoing annual expenses that we would have could be rolled in for this one-time, upfit of Field 8 and potentially some other soccer parks. It seems like the right utilization of the dollars that we would have to use for soccer to try to expand for our community. So we know we're going to save money, so let's this one time invest it back into that area. Be my suggestion going forward. Thank you.
If I could just note one more thing, if possible. I did fail to mention that we have the Buncombe County Parks, Greenways, and Recreation has 3 other.
I think you need to start using those those letters like Mike does.
PGR.
That'd be why I said
that
wouldn't take you nearly as long to.
that we have 3 other practice facilities at North Buncombe Park and one at Cane Creek out in Fairview, and also a newly renovated, and thanks to the commissioners for their help, renovated facility at Carpin Soccer Field out on north part of the county, out Reams Creek Road. And so we have been able to use county dollars to improve the practice facilities. And I just wanted to make sure that I didn't leave out those other fields that we operate also.
Y'all do a great job.
Well, and Fran, I go by Cane Creek all the time. That is used, it looks like, as Commissioner Peterson knows, living out that way, it is used just about all the time. I would like, when you give the reports on the recreational facilities, including the ones we're already leasing to the baseball, how much of what's the public time on there? Because this is public dollars that everybody paid. And I have full confidence in these guys to do the right thing, but it does have to be a public facility too. And so I would like that included. I'm for this. I'm going to vote for this. I think that we just as accountability, part of your report when you do the overall, you probably need to include the public time for these facilities since it's a public facility.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I will.
Okay, any other comments?
I'm also going to definitely in favor of this, and I think it's great that we've had this opportunity to hear from Fran Thigpen, the director of our Parks, Recreations, Greenways, and all those other things she takes care of, and to highlight what actually happens in our parks area here. And I think the fact that you've mentioned upgrades at Carpin Field and what happens at Cane Creek Middle School, that area there is really important. And I think the folks in the community know that we have to have partnerships, know that we are looking at doing some cutting in the budget. And the other thing that we need to really realize is that this is a great partner we have here. I've had some experience sitting on those cold fields when in early spring when the children are playing, and it is a great thing you folks do, and I want to personally thank you for that. But this is a great partnership, and this is what we're looking for across the county with so many of the things that we're charged with doing. And we are charged with recreation, not only, as Commissioner Jones says, with recreation that's scheduled, but free play recreation, and I think that's so important that we are looking at that. And personally, I want to thank Fran and Mandy and the work that our folks have done, and also Mike Rachika. Did I say that okay?
You were very brave.
I was very brave to say that, but I'm in favor of it, and thank you all for the hard work.
Very good. Any other questions or comments?
I call for the question.
All right, is there a motion to approve the lease?
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion by Commissioner Peterson, a second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of approval of the lease say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion carries 4-0. We have taken the CTS Condemnation off the calendar because it's been rescheduled for our next meeting. Announcements. The next regular meeting of the board will be November 1st, 2011, beginning at 4:30. Commissioner meetings can be seen on BC Charter Cable Channel 2, AT&T UVerse Channel 99, live on buncombecounty.org during the meetings, or online anytime at buncombecounty.org. We'll next have public comment. There will be a need for a closed session tonight, Mr. Frew?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
We will have 3 minutes. I will remind everybody, our rules require that public comment be respectful of the commission and the public, that any comments that are rude, inappropriate, or intended to harass or not courteous will be rejected by this board, and we will hear public comment if you'll give your name and where you're from. Public comment, Mr. Rice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I want to thank you for correcting the minutes on your agenda and allowing the comments to be in the minutes. Ever who done it, I don't think that's an administrative decision. I think the board made that, and I appreciate it. The concern I have with the soccer fields is who's carrying the liability, which I think Buncombe County will be. But leasing, I want to know that as well. The concern that I have is not with every field that we have, but with my community in Candler, the big sports complex. I have a deep concern about the environmental issues at the Inca plant. There's a 27-acre unlined landfill there, and it has got some very potential serious problems. And with the land not draining properly and that lower field down under the railroad track near the creek, that leads to Hominy Creek all the way down in toward the dog shelter. All that creek, all that area used to be a landfill down in through there, and this is some very serious stuff in that low-lying property. And I think in the future there might be some potential of using property or trying to use some of that property that we're talking about. And I'd like to have the county to have a report on the environmental issues. These brownfield sites, just because they're brownfield sites doesn't mean they're safe. The apple orchard out in Canton will tell you that. You get some serious stuff. And I think we need to look into that. Just like the Champion paper, the brownfield site out there, they put the cattle out there. Well, children and cattle, where do they put the brownfield sites? I want you to really think about that. Where do they put the schools? Health and safety ought to come first. Every time you find a cheap piece of land, you'll find a school being put on it. You'll find soccer fields being put on it. You'll find parks being put on by the river, at the river where they tore down the industrial site. I think I heard as well, the people that keeping the river, they're planting bushes. And these bushes that they're planting will pull up toxins out of the ground. And these bushes will then be pulled up and took to the landfill. Did you hear that? Have you heard that here at this meeting? No, you've heard the presentations being brought to you, but you haven't heard that kind of comment made at this county commission meeting by the riverfront person. Now, I'm just giving you that example to tell you about these soccer fields and all these other places that you're examining for fields. It is a great, wonderful thing with children, and I applaud it. I like it, but I just don't think using the type of land that we're using, we need to be investigating the environmental impact, because health and safety is number one we're supposed to be involved in here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Yes, sir. Mr. Fryer?
Thank y'all. I'm up tonight to speak about this referendum that we've got going forward for AB Tech. In the past week, I've received an anonymous letter from a AB Tech employee asking for their help due to the issues of AB Tech. Dr. Dunn is president of this college. I feel that Dr. Dunn is doing some things that's totally out of line with his job. First of all, you have variable employees. It's called chat with the president. I have a letter here, but I'm trying to just do this in a short form. Employees have been demoted or terminated after voicing an opinion to Dr. Dunn. Employees have felt that the issues that he put forward wouldn't work, and so they basically got cut back. The hours over at AB Tech, they worked 35 hours just like the basic county did before they went to 40 hours, and they got raises. At 40 hours, and the 40 hours.
Okay.
We're not listening here, are we?
Well, I'm wondering, we've already made our call and we're going to have a referendum.
Well,
so
the referendum's
sure.
not done yet, so it's time to listen.
Okay, I don't want you talking about anybody personal attacks on an individual.
Dr. Dunn
outside.
runs the show, don't he?
You can talk about your opinion. I'm not going to let you talk about Dr. Dunn, whether you like or don't like
the
what he
president
did.
of AB Tech. These people work 35 hours. He moved them to 40
Okay, I'm
hours.
not going to let you talk about actions from another individual. If you want to get on something else, Mr. Fryer, that's fine.
No.
You can give your opinion about policy. It's
Okay.
public comment.
Well, it is policy. How many people have to go to work for 40 hours and don't get a raise?
Okay, you're about through unless you can get on something else, Mike. I've
Okay.
given you warning.
How about the referendum?
You can talk about the referendum. Go ahead.
Okay. Employees are forced to show support for the tax referendum, whether they do or not. They have been requested to wear bracelets. They have been requested to take home signs, and their computers, when they pop, their screensavers pop up, it says support the jobs thing. Okay. This has nothing here. Let's do it this way. I've got the letters. That is sent around. It's from Solution something or another. It's sent to unaffiliated and it's sent to Democrats. There's 2 of them out there. That's the ones that's paying for the AB Tech sign. That's not going to be on the bill. It's going to be our tax dollars that you're, wanting to do. We don't have to give it to them. Simple fact is, the people that did this, they spent $8,000. Somebody put $20,000 up. Join the Buncombe Solutions, JOBS. It's anybody can go to the Buncombe County thing. They spent $8,000 at Burgess and Burgess Strategists to figure out how you could do this and stick it down our throat in a city election. That's what I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Fryer. Email public. Yes, sir. Mr. English, good to see you, sir.
My name's Fred English, and I live in Hall Creek. I watched our King Hussein come into town yesterday.
Okay, that's out of order. You're not going to do that. Sorry, Fred.
I listened to his speech. It's rhetoric like it's always been. He's campaigning in a
About the
bus
president.
they bought in Canada.
Okay, let's get on something. Let's get on something about here. Okay, Fred. We're not going to attack our president of the United States
I'll
tonight.
attack whoever I want to on my
You're not going to do it on our time. I'm not sorry, sir.
Well, I'll tell
We're
you
not-
one thing. I was born in Hoover was president. I've lived a long line of presidents. This Obama
Okay, that's it. Unless you can get on something else, we're not going to sit up here and
hoax
attack our
ever pulled
president.
on the United States.
Okay, have a seat, Fred. I'm sorry. Mr. Almonte?
Brother Christopher, County Commissioners. Where do I begin? Ignorance. It's not a bad word. To be called ignorant is not to be called a bad thing. It just means to be without knowledge. Because of your school system, you have a bunch of kids that are ignorant to the political system, that are being manipulated. Oh, and by the way, they're the ones underneath the bridge that will say the Pledge of Allegiance with me, will fly a flag, because they are citizens and loyal and patriotic. But your system didn't teach you. Do you know a immigrant being naturalized into this country knows more about your country than I guarantee each one of you? These kids are so sick and tired of you leaders that you have a worldwide movement with no leaders. Imagine thousands of kids en masse moving. Now, you're going to have some people get up And they're not going to be the official leaders because there are no leaders, but there are. We had a saying in the 60s, and it's true, do not trust anybody over 30. Why? They have an agenda. Second reason, they know how to manipulate because they have life experience. So we have a small group. We have 3 groups, actually. You have the group that's down at the bridge, a bunch of kids who love their country. You have a bunch of adults who are now slowly coming into the GA, which is they're not setting up under democracy. They do not say the flag. They do not raise the flag. They do not say allegiance. Isn't that the first thing that anything, when we the people come together, is supposed to do? Yes. If we want to use our First Amendment rights and all that to just come together and party, fine. But when we come together as a nation of people, whether it's just a small body or large, we are supposed to say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, to declare to our country that we are not trying to subvert through force or even through peace. To avert this country to any other form of government is treason. These kids were almost manipulated into doing that the first week by declaring themselves sovereign. That's right. You better let the feds know. If they don't know, they know now. That you have a small group of people trying to get these kids to become traitors. We have American soldiers in New York who don't know that if they get on a terrorist act, have committed treason. You need to teach your children. I now stand and support with my own blood that I gave oath to this country during the Vietnam era to these kids. And I swear under oath that these kids are patriots. And if anyone goes after them, they go after me
Thank you, sir.
and my God.
Thank you. Any other public comment tonight? Thanks, sir. Mr. Yelton?
Holly, I want to thank you very much for being at the Asheville airport, walking by me and Bill Lack and Bill's son, and not calling us Nazis, not calling us everything under the sun, which a lot of those people did that were at the airport, because we were standing there expressing our opinion. I believe that public comment is time to express our opinion. It is also time to present facts. And if those facts do show the behavior of somebody has not been what it should within Buncombe County, that should be permitted. And the act of not permitting that account by this board is the establishment of control of speech. And the discussion that was given about CTS, I have no idea what I can say about CTS. Can I mention it? Can I not say it? What can I do? And don't worry about it, Dave, because I'm going to handle this thing. Because, you know, CTS has been a major problem. And it is.
Let's talk about something. We're going to be judging that.
See,
We've already said we're not going to talk about it.
You have made this comment that is approved by you.
I'm trying to protect the process. You know why we're doing this.
I know
you probably know better than anybody.
See, what I was going to
say. You're not going to talk about it.
No, what I was going to say had to do about this. That's what I said. Change the name of this section from public comment to comment approved by the county commissioners, because that's what it is, David. And the more you do that, the more you're alienating the people. The more people you're pushing under the bridge with the 99%ers. You can sit there and think about that, all of you. If I started pushing you like that, how would you react? It's a very simple thing. Because the more you control, the more pushback you get. And Holly, you believe that, I believe, in your heart. And Dave, I think you do too. But you're faced with a situation you don't know what to do. You let people give their opinion because that's what's made America great. The fact that we can have different opinions. The fact that we can express our thoughts to each other. But once we start controlling those thoughts, we've headed down a road that's very, very dangerous. And by the way, the pollutant at the agriculture center out there where it's been built is dioxin. The sludge from Champion plant had a lot of dioxin in it, just like the sludge from all these metal platers around here had heavy metals in them that were discharged at the landfill. So when you hear things here that you don't like to hear, they do come back and slap you in the rear down the road, because I've been talking to you about CTS for a long time, even when Tom Sobel sat there as chair.
Thank you. Any other public comment tonight? ma'am. Ms. Landis?
I am Reverend Lisa Landis, Glow Lady, Glolady. I speak for myself and not as a representative of Occupy Asheville because there is none. One of the things that I'd like to clarify, the post office box that I have used is a friend's. It is not my personal post office box. They are not involved in the movement other than they support me in what I do. I went to the permit, and I have a permit, and we are occupying underneath Lexington, and we ask everybody to come in. We will be having a welcome event, and we will let you know when that is. We had 4 arrests at Wells Fargo today. We are planning to clean up this town. They cleaned up the sidewalk and then were arrested when they tried to clean the windows. We are cooperating with the city and the police department. The police department have been very, very supportive of us. We will have a barrier around where we are at. Federal building, we have people who are wanting to be there. They are occupying. As I said, I am a reverend, and there is some spiritual warfare. Our First Amendment rights have been denied. Our First Amendment rights have been abused. We talk about partnership with children and people, yet between the county and the city there was $3 million, yet $200,000 for public access could not be given. I would like to know why. We had someone who had the permit in their name, but they were pulled out of their tent and verbally and physically attacked. I put that permit in my name. When I was down there at camp today, I had someone steal, my notebook with the permit is missing. The incense that I use, the incense that was given to me by one of the other pastors in this town was stolen. Our First Amendment is very important, and I'm going to request our public access because obviously we cannot speak what is really on our mind. We will continue. I would like to know why the accounting records are hidden. I would like to request that the guilty resign. I'm sure that there is a plea bargain. And Mountain X, I really like Jake Frankel because of everybody. I feel that you are very positive, very honest, and that is something that in the media we have a hard time getting. We have a lot of media support, and I'm looking forward to your support also. And public access is the first. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Landis. Is there any other public comment tonight? Yes, sir, in the back.
Well, I just have a brief...
What's your name and where you live, sir?
My name is Algernon Kane, and I'm homeless. Now, I just want to make a brief comment about I agree with the other people who have spoken that there is some pretty blatant censorship going on here, and that's a violation of my First Amendment right as a citizen of the United States of America, and furthermore, more importantly, as a human being. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Kane. Any other public comment tonight? Yes, sir.
Chairman Ginn, fellow commissioners. I came in.
What's your name and where are you from, please, sir?
My name is Aaron Penland. I am from Asheville, Arden, Skyland. Actually near the CTS site.
Okay, we're not going to talk about that tonight.
You know
Were
what?
you here? You may not have
not
been
here
here
for the instructions. So I
Okay,
think if
we're
we
going to
could-
have a judicial hearing on that next meeting, and our lawyer has advised us that it would be inappropriate to take public comment or talk about that since we're going to be hearing that, and we don't want to interfere with that process.
Okay, but the question I have to you is, who asked for the continuance?
I'll let you talk, Mr. Frew, about the legalities after the meeting.
Okay, well, sir, as being a...
I'll wait for you also, Aaron, if you want to talk to me. Either one of us will wait after the meeting
well,
to
sir,
answer
what I'd
questions
like
about
is
it.
for the people in the community, the people that do watch your show, to know what's going on.
We will talk with you after the meeting about the CT. We can't talk about it because we're going to have a judicial meeting at the next hearing. You can talk this after. We'll be glad to answer your questions.
I don't know if
Frew
Mr. Penland was here at the beginning.
He may
when
not
we
have been.
started off, but just for your benefit, what the appeal was timely. They're having meetings now. I mean, you read the papers. We know that there's a $6.5 million demand out from the EPA to Mills Gap Road Associates and CTS. There was a meeting on Friday. There's going to be continuing dialogue amongst those three parties as to the best way to proceed. That $6.5 million, as I understand it, is for expenses advanced to date. It is not an offer to say pay this and you get a clean bill of health. That's not it at all. They're just asking for reimbursement and the best way to move forward with remediation. So based on those discussions, the attorneys for those parties asked that meeting be put off on the judicial hearing before this board till November 1st.
Okay,
It's not going to run off 60 days. It's just going to be that one
I
time
don't
only.
understand and that I want clearance for myself is that, first off, your code enforcement officer condemned the building. Then it's been postponed.
Well, part
will
of
it be postponed
I don't
again,
mean.
and how many times will it be postponed?
Okay,
Yeah,
Aaron, I'm going to let you talk to him afterwards.
Let me
We
speak
really
to you
can't
afterwards.
mess up
I'll
our
explain.
hearing next week. We don't want to do that.
Mr.
So
Gant,
it's in
as
everybody's
far-
interest, everybody that lives out there, sir. So we're
Yes,
not
sir,
going to do it
is.
today.
And we've been coming to
Okay,
you for
I've
4
made a
hours.
ruling. I've made a ruling. You can talk about anything else. We're not going to talk
Okay,
about
we'll
CTS
talk about
today.
something else then. EPA came out not too long ago, and they said that TCE
Come
is
on,
now.
Aaron, you know what you're talking about. We're not
I'm
going to talk
talking
about
about
CTS.
EPA, and I'm talking
glad
about
to talk about
TCE,
anything
and I'm
else.
talking
And you're
about-
out of order. You're out of here. Okay, goodbye. I would like him leaving. No, sir. We are not going to jeopardize the hearing we're going to have next week. You're through, Mr. Penland. You're out of here too, ma'am. Would you remove both of those individuals?
This government is this of the people, for
Hey,
the people, or by
out,
the people?
out. Would
Or
you-
is this censorship? This is wrong.
Is there any other public comment tonight?
I request you to resign.
Would you remove her?
You hear the people's voice.
I request you to get out of here. Officer, would you lead Miss Landis out of this room? Are there any other public comments tonight?
Excuse me. Thank you.
I will sign a trespass warrant if you don't leave now.
All right, let's.
Excuse me. I'm putting my bag on my back. I'm carrying
Okay.
a bag. I am walking peacefully out. I refuse to have
All right.
someone
Is there a motion to
drag
adjourn?
me. I refuse to. I can walk.
Motion to adjourn. Any
Will
mo?
you leave me alone?
What? All in favor of adjourning? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Excuse me. May I walk?
Favor adjourn?
Thank you.
We're adjourned. Thank you.